otherworldly but definitive sign manifested. The cosmic beings in Archavatara, deities in Nijavatara, living incarnations is positive. Understand? Kriya Pada of Vedas and Agamas elaborately explain the whole science of making the cosmic beings manifest in Archavatara, deities and Nijavatara, living incarnations, both. During the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, literally those cosmic beings manifest through this body. Just like how they manifest in Archavatara, deity, they manifest in Nijavatara, Pratyakshavatara, and give you all the boons you ask, bless you. You see, each God is an independent intelligence to lead you to enlightenment. Each God is a bridge for you to achieve the Shivatva, the ultimate Shiva consciousness. Krishna is the bridge for you to achieve the Krishna consciousness. But Shiva consciousness, Krishna consciousness, all consciousness is one and the same. Ultimate consciousness only. So that energy itself completely expresses.
Just like Radhika, when I see my own sweetness in the mirror, I become eager to taste it. I find that the only way to relish this sweetness is through the constitution of Sri Radhika.
Bhava Samadhi Darshan is a window to the infinite expanse of consciousness, allowing us to glimpse the formless in a way that we can understand. It cleanses the karmas of lifetimes. It awakens our biomemory to the space of Paramashiva, the ultimate consciousness, and creates a deep and lasting transformation in us.
Welcome back. And now we'll go into the next segment, which is the more serious one, where whatever contributions Bhagwan has done to Hinduism, in literally as a backlash to that, the anti-Hindu militant forces having a long history of executing ethnocide, genocide in the form of multiple attacks. What all kinds of attacks over a decade, we can go over in summary to understand that this ongoing bio-war is not something that is new, but it is the continued persecution and the attempted genocide on the followers of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Hinduism at large. It started in a big way after the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism gained recognition worldwide in an obviously very shockingly short span of time, given his yeoman contributions in every field, literally, be it spirituality, social services, providing education. He was literally welcomed with open arms, with city keys across the world. Now that irked the anti-Hindu terrorist militant forces quite a bit, obviously, and that started the targeted persecution of the minorities, which is the community of the followers of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the core followers, besides the Hindus at large, being the Adi Shaivite minority community. And that was started on literally leveraging the persecution of minorities of Tamil origin in Karnataka. So it started with a political flavor where linguistic minorities were executed, literally persecuted in every which way, starting from not being provided facilities to being derided, and even to the extent of having communal wars, communal tensions across the state. This is just one of the examples of the persecution, the flavors of the persecution. And so one hand, we had linguistic minority persecution. On the other hand, we had what is called the Neo-Hindutva worldview, where the Neo-Hindutva leaders having extreme views on Hinduism itself, which color Hinduism in a very, very non-Hindu way, so to speak, because it goes to have extremist views and ranging from gender intolerance, the views of the Neo-Hindutva elements mass found literally as conservative or orthodox Hinduism, and actually it is just intolerance. On the contrary, gender fluidity and non-binary gender theories have always been seen as an everyday fact by native traditions worldwide. None of the genders either seen as a rule or as an none of the genders are either seen as rigid bottles, so to speak. And the non-binary genders is not something that is new or unique only to Hinduism, but it has been recognized actually worldwide, well documented and accepted even in Greek history, in traditions, even in Native America. So you have gender intolerance on the one hand, you have linguistic intolerance on the other hand, and we had comments being made publicly by the ruling parties, an example being from the BJP member of parliament saying being gay is against Hindutva and it needs a cure. And RSS, the wing of Neo-Hindutva extremists, saying homosexuality is not a crime but against nature. And here you had, on the other hand, the religious, social, and cultural empowerment of women by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The Sannyas Sampradaya established that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is unique in that it freely ordains women and allows women to perform temple rituals, which is a very, very unique aspect, which the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived as a very powerful way of women empowerment. Moreover, women constitute the majority of the senior leadership positions in the mission of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in Kailasa, thereby establishing in practice his vision that Hinduism is not just orthodox, but is also highly progressive and committed to gender equality. Bhagwan has ordained men and women, including from so-called scheduled castes and tribes and the Dalit communities in India, which have been actually discriminated against and sidelined by the very same Neo-Hindutva elements who claim to revive and protect Hinduism. Media clip from 2018 highlighting the exclusion of women from Hindu temples, consequence of the Neo-Hindutva extremist ideologies who disregard Hindu sacred texts, the Veda Agamas, which are the core of Hinduism itself. So here you have the Business Standard headline saying that female Hindu priests breaking into male bastion, but equality is still a dream. One can see here a beautiful picture of one of the female sannyasis, monastic disciples of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the monastic order of Kailasa, belonging to what is called the Dalit community, which is in India one of the persecuted communities, so economically. And here she is performing the temple rituals in the main Garbha Mandir, which is a sanctum sanctorum at the headquarters of Kailasa temple monastery complex, the enlightenment spiritual ecosystem at Adi Kailash. We have here a female brahmacharani, a monk, offering what is called the Arti, the fire ritual, to the presiding deities in the main sanctum sanctorum at the headquarters of the Nityanandeshwara Paramashiva Devalaya, the Hindu temple at Adi Kailash. And here we have Bhagwan giving Devi Bhava Darshan and one more aspect of glorifying the true feminism, the sacred feminine. Bhagwan in early 2003, while giving Devi Bhava Samadhi Darshan, exuding the grace and blessings of Devi Parashakti herself. We hear exactly as the sacred scriptures, the Vedagamas, the 11 genders, and prescribe specific temple rituals to even solemnize gay marriage, which is otherwise considered taboo in today's mainstream Hinduism. Moreover, Bhagwan has declared that he himself is of the transcendental gender, beyond male, female, and all other genders, absolutely in Advaita, in total oneness, established in Paramashivatva, as he is a living incarnation of Paramashiva himself. And as we saw, by rooting the legitimacy of not only gays, lesbians, all the 11 genders and the transgendered people in ancient Hindu scriptures, he's single-handedly changing the LGBTQ discourse in India. So the LGBTQ plus community empowered not just now, but way back even as early as 2012, when publicly Bhagwan in Madurai, in the sacred land of Madurai, opened his mission and opened his services, especially to the transgender people, and they were so very vocally thankful to him about the same. And this is adding one more reason for the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to be the target of neo-Hindutva extremism in the state of Karnataka and in the state of Tamil Nadu, the two major states where the mission of Kailasa over the last decade has been very deeply entrenched and reaching out to practically every person in every village and town of the two states. One can see here glimpses of the various political, spiritual personalities being enriched by Bhagwan and coming and receiving his blessings, supporting Kailasa. The universal acceptance and appeal of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, not just in Karnataka but worldwide, was unacceptable to the neo-Hindutva extremists of Karnataka, as the origin, as they perceived, was of Tamil ethnicity. The politically owned media was actually directly complicit in the violence and literally the lawfare, the persecution, the genocide being inflicted on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Kailasa. In 2013, just example, it was a very obvious, blatant attack where a neo-Hindutva terrorist was actually wielding a sword, a machete, and openly issuing death threat targeting the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. This is just one of the many examples of the literally 100+ assassination attempts that have been made on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
On 7th of June 2012, the Suvarna television media head Ajit Hanmantavakar led a militant group to kill the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his chief administrator Srinitya Atmaprabhananda. The militants broke the head of the chief administrator with heavy boulder rocks for stopping them from serving anthrax letter bomb. Please understand the bioweapon strategy to eliminate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his community started happening since 2012. Anthrax letter bomb was thrown on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The state government was also an accomplice in this attack, as the government was led by the BJP, who also owned the Suvarna channel, which employed this neo-Hindutva militant Ajit. We have a short clip that we're going to play, where you can see how this bioweapon was launched on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in 2012 itself, as one more assassination attempt to exterminate him, to eliminate him. So the revival of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma can be eliminated.
One or two times have Ganapati Darshan, Venkateshwara Baba Samadhi Darshan, Devi Baba Samadhi Darshan. By third time, fourth time you will see every prayer you are asking those beings, Ganapati or Venkateshwara or Subramanya or Parashakti. Simply those prayers become, and the relationship between you and that cosmic beings built. I tell you, each Baba Samadhi Darshan is a spiritual treat, enjoy. Spiritual feast, enjoy. Don't miss it. Never miss a Baba Samadhi Darshan. Enjoy Paramashivoham, which is introducing and making you cognize the cosmic principles and cosmic beings. The state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva, being of Paramashiva. There are some great spiritual sciences unique to Hinduism. Subtle, otherworldly but definitive sign manifesting the cosmic beings in Archavatara, deities in Nijavatara, living incarnations is possible. Understand? Kriya Pada of Vedas and Agamas elaborately explain the whole science of making the cosmic beings manifest in Archavatara, deities and Nijavatara, living incarnations, both. During the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, literally those cosmic beings manifest through this body. Just like how they manifest in Archavatara, deity, they manifest in Nijavatara, Pratyakshavatara, and give you all the boons you ask, bless you. You see, each God is an independent intelligence to lead you to enlightenment. Each God is a bridge for you to achieve the Shivatva, the ultimate Shiva consciousness. Krishna is the bridge for you to achieve the Krishna consciousness. But Shiva consciousness, Krishna consciousness, all consciousness is one and the same. Ultimate consciousness only. So that energy itself completely expresses.
Just like Radhika, when I see my own sweetness in the mirror, I become eager to taste it. I find that the only way to relish this sweetness is through the constitution of Sri Radhika.
Bhava Samadhi Darshan is a window to the infinite expanse of consciousness, allowing us to glimpse the formless in a way that we can understand. It cleanses the karmas of lifetimes. It awakens our biomemory to the space of Paramashiva, the ultimate consciousness, and creates a deep and lasting transformation in us.
One or two times.
Yes. So far, what we have seen is the immense contribution by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in every field of humanity, whether it is religion or spirituality or agriculture or food or medicine, healthcare, every single aspect where the authentic Hindu practices can be followed. Swamiji has established and ensured that the revival of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma was happening in an unprecedented way. The neo-Hindutva groups and the extremist groups, anti-Hindu elements, did not like that, did not want this progressive movement spearheaded by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and therefore they carried out genocidal attack through multiple means, whether it is lawfare, whether it is character assassination, hate speech, mob lynching. In every single way, they were attacking Swamiji and assassinating and tried to assassinate Swamiji in multiple times in multiple ways. Now, what we have seen in the last segment in 2012, the anti-Hindu elements, especially the neo-Hindutva group militant, had launched a bioweapon on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism directly. And when he and all the other things that has happened post this attempt to assassination, they actually made Swamiji to get illegally imprisoned once again. And how in every single way, when we wanted to bring out the truth to the whole world that Swamiji is innocent, how he was falsely framed, and once again he was illegally imprisoned. So in this attack, no formal police complaint was accepted against the militant extremist Ajit. And on the contrary, Ajit actually filed a police complaint against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. It was further supported by the arbitrary order by the district magistrate directing the arrest of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Please understand here, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the victim. A bioweapon was thrown at his face. It was launched on his face. He was attempted to assassinate, but he was ordered by the district magistrate for the arrest. Both the executive order directing the arrest of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the false complaint by Ajit were struck down by the court, terming the entire process by the government as illegal, without any authority, contrary to the law, without jurisdiction.
Actually did not even remedy the situation. There were no repercussions at all for the perpetrators of the crime who were protected by the state actually. From 2010 to 2018, several attempts were made to assassinate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with practically public announcements of the same on television, unencumbered by any of the enforcement authorities, the law enforcement, the political establishment, the executive, none. Till 2019, demands for the extrajudicial assassination of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism were publicly made by lawmakers.
On 2nd of March, the Sun TV, the politically owned media house of the DMK, which was the ruling party of the state of Tamil Nadu at that time in 2010, they made a sensational and repeated screening of a fabricated video purporting to show the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with a well-known Indian film actress. The video was later proved to be false. A judge ordered the television station to run an apology letter for every 2 hours for 7 days. And the Hansraj Saxena, the COO of the Sun TV, actually confessed that the whole thing is fabricated. He confessed on the public television, as well as he gave a sworn affidavit to the US court detailing the history and modus operandi of the blackmail and extortion, and was jailed for the same. However, the state-owned and controlled television channels within a few hours ensured that the television telecast was stopped. The ASMT has captured the video recording of the telecast and has this as an evidence for the same. This did not remedy the damage that was incurred by these anti-Hindu elements. They have spread mass hate speech, mass hate propaganda against the Supreme Pontiff of Hindu. They actually isolated him from the entire society, so they can justify their assassination attempts. Following the hate propaganda started by the DMK-affiliated Sun TV, the politically owned neo-Hindutva media amplified this misinformation. They amplified this hate propaganda, spreading to the entire community, entire country, with a titles such as "Hang the Sin Swamis." They went to every extent possible. The hate speech was so bad. It was really bad, and they literally singled out, they literally marginalized the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the community, that in such a way that they were never able to receive the fair trials from the judiciary, nor get the sympathy or empathy from the society. On 26th of March 2010, the Karnataka State Police CID unlawfully sent letters to the banks holding the accounts of the public charitable trust of the temple monastery established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. They illegally ordered this trust. No debit transaction was allowed, making the main source of food and basic amenities for the residents of the Adinam. Literally, they made them to struggle. What is the intention behind this? They really want to isolate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism from his disciples, from his community. There was no food in the monastery. Please understand, this Kailasa has been served billions of people, billion meals for over 26 years. The Annadan is an everyday practice, every meal practice in all the Kailasas established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. When this attack happened, for his own monks, for the own residents, by illegally freezing the bank accounts, they ensured that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is isolated from his community, because they really wanted every single disciple and devotee to be pushed out. They did not want anybody to be around Swamiji. The residents were pushed to crisis and they were forced to survive by drinking rainwater, which collected underground, and living by sorting the good rains out of the rotten ones. When they appealed to the court to seek the relief, the judge made a mocking statement in the open court saying that if there is no food, eat air. Yes, you heard it right. The judge made an open mocking statement in the court saying that if there is no food, eat air. Several residents and the full-time volunteers fled the monastery due to starvation. Several social welfare and spiritual services of the monastery had to be discontinued by these illegal attempts to freeze the bank accounts. Although the Indian law
and customary international law and treaties unanimously declare a presumption of innocence. Innocent until proven guilty is one of the fundamental tenets not only of the Indian jurisprudence, but also of international law, be it of the United Nations or any other world body, legal body. Yet this fundamental human right, as declared by the United Nations, is a very, very fundamental right for every human being, no matter what country's citizenship one holds. Bhagwan and his disciples have been repeatedly and openly targeted and denied for over 10 years of this fundamental right because of this very targeted misinformation and disinformation propaganda in the media, which is used as a very powerful justification for all the ensuing crimes, ranging from direct assassination attempts, character assassination, series of lawfare, and false, baseless legal cases meant for not only harassment, but also as a means to illegally imprison the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his disciples, and attempted extrajudicial assassination attempts while in the illegal custody. One can see on 11th June of 2010, months after the fabricated video was spread virally to launch a massive hate propaganda so as to incite mob violence and mob lynching in the fond hope that the assassination attempts made the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism could be justified as mob lynching. And when that failed and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was imprisoned illegally for 53 days, at the end of it, on 11th June 2010, when he was granted bail by the Honorable High Court of Karnataka, the High Court described this in its order. In fact, it went on to observe the media influence, the undue media influence against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, mentioned in point number 13, which, as you can see here, it reads, however, it is not a matter for the court to discuss since the issue was subsidized by the media by telecasting the incident, and a question mark is created among the public as regard to the image of sannyasi or Swamiji. As per the Oxford Dictionary definition of the word subsidy, to give subsidy or to subsidize means to give or contribute a sum of money to support an industry or business to keep the price of its product or service low. What the High Court observed was that the attacks and allegations on the character of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism were funded by the media, not sustained by facts, not supported by facts, or literally any victim or any witness or any complainant who was, for that matter, for not even having any case at hand, actual case at hand. It is completely a fabricated case. It was the start of a massive lawfare against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. The media has no obligation to make true claims in India. It is under no declaration of any oath in any court of law, and at any time it can retract from any of its claims, has no locus standi in the court on legal grounds. But obviously, as we all know, it is a very, very prominent and very powerful influence in negatively prejudicing not only the public at large, but the judiciary itself against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his followers. And we have a full detailed report which has been made, which documents literally the 25,000 print pages of the massive hate propaganda against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and the terabytes of the videos and misinformation and disinformation that has been launched and which was sustained over decades from 2010 2nd March till date, which runs to literally terabytes. And all this has been archived in the National Archives of Kailasa. The unlawful arbitrary arrest of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in 2010 was snowballed and justified by the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Karunanidhi, then Chief Minister, who made a public statement inciting hatred towards the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, which was published in several newspapers and cited by several media channels. This is just one example of the political flavor and the open political hand in the persecution, genocide, ethnocide of Kailasa at large. Here you can see one example, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu stereotyping and vilifying Swamis and calling them all kinds of names, calling them imposters, cheats, brainwashers. This is just one of the examples, and one can see massive hate propaganda in various print media by the state-owned newspapers, print media, and the electronic channels. A huge misinformation campaign and meant to incite extreme hatred against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, against Kailasa, and projecting him as an enemy of the state, literally. And then, as we saw, we had in 2012, the same thing repeating by the laws, the powerful lawmakers and the executive in the state of Karnataka. We saw how an anthrax letter bomb attack was attempted on the life of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as he was addressing a press conference to prove to the world once again in multifarious ways how the charges of the false case that was inflicted on him, that was imposed on him, was actually false, because the so-called victim of the crime herself was a criminal in the first place. So we saw a massive number of human rights violations and violations of international laws, violations of even the Indian legal system, the open torture carried out, one can see here, physical manhandling, which was shamelessly telecasted on national television and repeatedly telecast so as to incite hatred against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. This is just some of the glimpses of the kind of tortures that Bhagavan had to go through, right from the forced starvation, attempted poisoning, physical torture, mental torture that was done by the legal authorities on him while in illegal custody, the extrajudicial assassinations, the attempted false confessions, the threats that were issued to him, the open orders to exile him out of the state, which in 2012, he was actually exiled out of the state of Karnataka brazenly by the police, demanding that he never come back, in spite of India having as its fundamental right for every citizen of India having the right to reside in any state in the country. Went on to have further illegalities and attempted assassinations on Bhagavan in the form of medical tests, illegal medical tests, and in the name of medical tests, attempting to assassinate him in various ways. So 2010, 2012, 2014, and the list goes on and on. What we wanted to touch over here was the unstopped, the continuous, unbroken attempts to assassinate Bhagavan, to stop Kailasa from reviving Hinduism, from serving humanity. And these are just some of the gory visuals which show the physical torture done to Bhagavan by the police, by the state, by various authorities, by anti-Hindu terrorist militant elements. And then it comes to today, where anti-Hindu militant terrorist forces have actually launched a biowar in the form of seeds of terrorism, literally, on the Adi Kailasa ship, which, as Devi Parashakti said, even though the captain of the ship was forced to leave the ship, yet the captain, the most compassionate living incarnation of Paramashiva, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, has given the Adi Kailasa ship, opened its doors of not only Adi Kailasa, but all the Adinams across the world, across India, as COVID care protection centers. Before we enter into the segment, let's take a short break.
Ganapati Darshan, Venkatesh Baba Samadhi Darshan, Devi Baba Samadhi Darshan. By third time, fourth time, you will see every prayer you are asking those beings, Ganapati or Venkateshwara, Subramanya or Parashakti. Simply those prayers become reality, and the relationship between you and that cosmic beings built. I tell you, each Baba Samadhi Darshan is a spiritual treat, enjoy. Spiritual feast, enjoy. Don't miss it. Never miss a Baba Samadhi Darshan. Enjoy Paramashivoham, which is introducing and making you cognize the cosmic principles and cosmic beings. The state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva, being of Paramashiva.
And welcome back. Now we will go into what has been happening in the last few months and few hours, when we shared with all of you about the launch of the biowar directly on Kailasa, specifically Adi Kailasa ship, the only solution to the deadly corona and the entire pandemic that is plaguing the planet today.
When the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is spearheading the whole of the humanity to come and reside in Adi Kailasa, because that is the only last hope for anybody to survive the COVID and its lethal effects and all the other secondary infections that is going to come. This is the only last hope for the humanity, when every single person, so many hundreds of people are applying to get into the COVID protection center for their loved ones and for themselves, to ensure that their lives are being protected. Now, at this stage, when all the relief measures are happening at complete full-fledged way, when the whole world is noticing the extraordinary humanitarian efforts that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is coming up with, and when, like we mentioned earlier in the presentation today, when all the doors of the powerful nations are getting closed, it is the Kailasa, it is Swamiji who has opened his doors, who has opened the enlightenment ecosystems for people to be protected from COVID. At this stage, at this point in time, at this juncture, the anti-Hindu militant terrorist forces has launched a biowar.
We were just talking about how the anthrax letter bomb that was attempted to assassinate the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism just about 9 years back in 2012, and how the anti-Hindu terrorist elements failed in that assassination attempt. And once again, we are faced with the same thing, this time, even though Bhagwan himself is not physically in Adi Kailash. One can see that, as we saw, the attacks are not isolated cases, right from the time of 2nd of March 2010, when the politically owned media house of the DMK, Sun TV, with the help of a fabricated video, maligned and defamed the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and started a slew of baseless false cases, a lawfare, and a series of assassination attempts, and then moved on and still continuing the attack, intensifying the attack with further hate propaganda on the media, in spite of the fact that the video was later proved to be false. The judge ordered the television channel to run an apology for over 2 hours for 7 days. The Hansraj Saxena, who is the COO of Sun TV, confessed on public television as well as gave a sworn affidavit to the US court detailing the history and modus operandi of the blackmail and extortion by these mighty terrorist groups, and he was jailed for the same. This did not remedy the damage, because already enough damage has happened. 14,000 plus hours of hate speech was propagated through television, and 25,000 plus articles of hate speech was propagated through print media. So much has happened that when the person who made the mistake, when he came and confessed, it did not do any justice. Already, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his community was neglected justice, and they were isolated from the entire community. This misinformation campaign resulted in the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his community undergoing brutal genocidal attacks by the anti-Hindu militant forces through multiple assassination attempts, physical and sexual assaults, lawfare, hate speech, mob lynching attacks, character assassination attacks for more than a decade. Exactly 11 years on the onset of this massive genocidal attack, exactly on that very same day, on March 2nd, this year, the international anti-Hindu, anti-humanity forces deployed seeds of terror. A recent phenomenon called bioweapon was launched on the Adi Kailasa Sarvanya Peetham on exact precise date of 2nd March this year. It is not just a coincidence. This has, not only in 2021, but in the preceding years also, we saw similar such attempts to not only assassinate and persecute the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Kailasa, but also to make a point, the anti-Hindu terrorist militant forces, to scare people so that they're afraid to follow in Hinduism, or afraid to literally be inspired by Bhagwan. These are the attempts so that not only, just as the persecution of Hindus over the last few centuries, if one sees, it has moved on from just physical persecution and genocide to a lot more sophisticated and more powerful weapons being used so that ideologically people are destroyed. In principle, the Hindus lose trust and pride over Hinduism, when actually the core principles of Sanatana Hindu Dharma are the very reason for even life existing today on planet Earth.
Now, what are these seeds of terror? A bioweapon. This is a recent international phenomenon where anonymous seed packages are being sent to various people all around the world, especially in US, UK, and few other countries. These seed packages carry the bioweapon. These seed packages are extremely dangerous for the entire community. On 31st of July 2020, the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, which is APHIS of US Department of Agriculture, in a statement had said that the main concern is that the seeds can introduce damaging pests or the disease that could harm the US agriculture. India is also very much on the target list. On 31st of July 2020, senior Indian government officials in China had advanced scientific capabilities to do such an attack on Indian soil too. The conspiracy was revealed in detail a year prior, on 4th of August 2020 itself. So this is the advanced methodology that these militant groups are deploying to stop every single humanitarian effort. If you take the world today, it is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the Kailasa, which is the only civilizational nation which is extending, which is opening their borders, which is opening their doors to save humanity from this pandemic. So the whole of the COVID is actually an attempt for depopulating the whole world. And this has been revealed in one of the revelations from Devi Parashakti. This whole attempt is opening the door of Adi Kailash to save humanity from the depopulation, to save humanity from deaths. This is the attempt by these militant groups by launching a bioweapon to destroy the lives, to scare people, to make people lose trust on Hinduism, to make people lose trust on religious solutions, spiritual solutions.
As one knows, at the end of the Second World War, a lot of realizations were made by all the countries involved. And in fact, one of the major safeguards that was recognized and was sustained over the decades to follow, including by the so-called superpowers, was like the nuclear weapon, let not something like a bioweapon be empowered, because much more, many thousand times more than a nuclear weapon can be the damage of what is called a bioweapon. It was consciously decided to not put the whole planet at stake, at risk of losing life itself, by giving any form of encouragement to especially bioweapons. And today, as Devi Parashakti revealed, literally, the Kirin Bhojanam, as described in the Garuda Purana by Vyasa, is already landed. It's landed in India, and one is seeing the Ghora Tandava being performed by this demonic forces which have been awakened in this pralaya.
The Adi Kailasa, a temple monastery complex and enlightenment ecosystem, is like Noah's Ark, or a Manu boat, or a ship to save the humanity. It was created by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with utmost care and compassion to save the humanity from ongoing COVID. Devi Parashakti, in her revelations, she clearly mentioned, knowing the pralaya is going to happen, knowing the impact that the humanity is going to suffer, despite the captain is being thrown away from the ship, it is the compassion of the captain that he actually foreseen the whole thing. 12 years ahead of time, he made this 21 feet in Navapashana Linga, just for the people to get protected from this pandemic. It is the home to rare and powerful healing energy in the form of Anandalinga, the 21 feet Shivalinga, erected around a herbal pond. This whole Anandalinga was personally energized and prepared by Swamiji. Anandalinga is made of 1008 Ayurvedic herbs. The herbs used in the Anandalinga are specially known for their properties of healing various diseases and supporting faster recovery from certain diseases. It was established 12 years prior to 2021. During these 12 years, the Anandalinga has undergone a herbal alchemy process. It is maturing. It is maturing in July of 2021 during the Hindu festival of Guru Purnima. So Devi Parashakti, who is the embodiment of feminine consciousness, who is the embodiment of the creation herself, she has revealed through the Nijavatara, she has manifested through the Nijavatara, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and revealed that by Guru Purnima, after Guru Purnima, anybody who takes the tirtha, the sacred water, and takes bath in the pond Vaidyasarovar, where the 21 feet Anandalinga is being erected, then you are protected from COVID.
One may have surely read about, heard about Noah's Ark or Manu's ship, as is described in our Hindu scriptures. At that time, when Manu literally took one being of every species so as to reconstruct life after the pralaya, literally the same is happening today. And at that time, it was Manu, that is the royal regent, Brahma's son, who did it. Today, it is being done directly by Paramashiva in physical form, landed on planet Earth, happened on planet Earth. As Bhagavan said, this time he had no time or even the margin for sending any of his dutas or agents or representatives, because the level to which humanity has degraded, yogo nashta parantapa, the level to which it has happened, it literally demanded Paramashiva himself to assume the human form and happen in planet Earth. Today, he is amongst us in the form of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagat Guru Mahasanidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam. And as Devi said, she has taken his Nijavatara, Devi herself. This incarnation of Paramashiva is a beautiful, probably never before happened combination of Paramashiva and Parashakti happening in one body. The situation today in the world literally demanding so much. And yet what humanity is not realizing is the doing what the undoing of what they are doing, of what Parashakti and Paramashiva have to give to humanity, even though they are hearkening to us to save ourselves by rushing to Adi Kailash ship. Yet what is being done by the demonic forces and the anti-Hindu militant forces who have joined hands with all the anti-life, the life negative forces, here we can see. Though the Supreme Pontiffism was forcibly driven out of the Adi Kailasa ship, exiled literally, exiled illegally into practically statelessness, deprived of his citizenship illegally, forced to leave the sacred space of Bharat. As a captain of the ship, the Noah Ark or the Manu's boat, and his home Bharat, years before, he left behind the ship, the Adi Kailasa ship, which he energized, which anticipating, very well knowing what humanity is going to go through. 12 years before, he established the sacred space of Adi Kailasa ship in the form of the Navapashana Linga, the 21 feet Nityananda Linga, which stands today in the Nityananda Vaidya Sarovar. 1008 Ayurvedic herbs and the Navapashanas, that is the 9 magic elements, literally, the Navapashanas as described in the Siddha medicine, which when combined in the certain proportion as per the Siddha science, assume a very powerful alchemical properties, which is exactly what the Nityananda Linga today is comprised of. And as Devi revealed, as Devi Parashakti revealed, in Guru Purnima, July of this year, this Linga literally ripening to its full capacity, to its full properties. 12 years is a time as per the Siddha science when it takes to completely flower, and here it is going to flower this beautiful flower in the Vaidya Sarovar, which is going to be the only solution, the only protection from corona and from death itself. And as Devi revealed that within a matter of days, anti-Hindu forces targeting the Adi Kailasa ship, and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who through his relentless work has been protecting humanity in India, precisely what these demonic forces who want to depopulate the planet and capture the resources exclusively for themselves, selfishly, what they do not want, in order to be able to succeed in their devilish, demonic means, what they have to do, we will just about see.
The next slide. Now, the anti-Hindu militant forces, they have deployed the biowar agents on the AK ship, which is the last hope for India to survive the COVID. Literally, as we speak, we are receiving hundreds of applications from all walks of India, different parts of India. Even in midnight, as we speak, at 12 a.m. in the midnight, we had 2 people from Uttarakhand, and early in the morning, we had people from into the Adi Kailash for the COVID Care Protection Center. So there are so many people who want to get benefited by being in Adi Kailasa. Now, at this stage, at this juncture, the anti-Hindu militant forces, they have deployed biowar agents on the AK ship. Their sole motive is to destroy the AK ship, which is the last hope for India, for the last hope for Indians and Hindus to survive the COVID-19. Right now, with the second wave of COVID-19, the Indians are facing enormous death. They are literally getting depopulated because of this COVID. Now, when their last hope to survive is to be in Adi Kailasa Sarvangapeetham, which is the COVID Care Protection Center that is being blessed and being given by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, at this time, the anti-Hindu forces are deploying the biowar agents. For his immense contribution towards eradicating poverty, illiteracy, hunger, gender-based violence, gender apathy, Swamiji's revival of authentic scriptures based in Hinduism irked the vested interest of the atheist, terrorist militant elements, neo-Hindutva terrorists, and other anti-Hindu forces who executed a massive persecution and genocide on him and his followers on 2nd March 2010. Now, 11 years later, on the same 2nd March 2021, we are experiencing this bioterrorism being launched on the AK ship. The unabated... Yes, please go ahead.
Just to have a recap of what has been done, the unabated decade, just to put in a few so-called statistics, over 70 assassination attempts, over 250 sexual assaults on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his monks and his disciples, lawfare of over 120 false cases in 10 years, massive hate propaganda in electronic media of over 14,000 hours, print media of over 25,000 articles in just 5 years, destruction of the heritage properties, which actually value, not including the heritage value, just with the properties, over 27 million US dollars, and the continuing ethnocide and genocide of over 80 million Hindus worldwide since the last 7 centuries. Delegitimizing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism by the hate propaganda, disenfranchising him of his civil and human rights, prejudicing him from fair representation and a fair trial in an absolutely false and baseless case, and repeated legal imprisonment with brazen torture, with clear attempts on extrajudicial assassination. Custodial assassination attempts supported by the system justification in various forms, like we were saying, the media being used as a tool of justification for the hate propaganda, so that people are almost desensitized and there is no public sympathy and there's absolute apathy, and literally called as bystander apathy. The common processes of bureaucracy being used, the indifference being created by projecting a very demonic picture, and the self-deception, the diffused responsibility, basically distributing the responsibility across the various arms of the democracy. The buck can be passed from the executive to the judiciary to the bureaucracy, just using each of the elements, the 4 pillars of the democracy, abused and exploited, which has resulted in the continued systemic complicity with open justification and literally brazen attempts of torture, murder, genocide, ethnocide. And now today we stand here on 2021, 11 years later, on 2nd of March 2021. What happened in Adi Kailash? As we know, temple monastery complex, a spiritual enlightenment ecosystem, literally the ship which is meant to serve humanity, save humanity from this corona, created by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism with utmost care and compassion to save humanity, in spite of the captain being driven out of the ship. Yet the attempts to exterminate him and his mission continue. On the 2nd of March 2021, another deadly war is launched, this time it being a bio-war. A mysterious package of seeds was sent to Adi Kailash, the headquarters of the spiritual mission of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and home to some of the rarest of Ayurvedic herbs and a powerful combination of the same of 1008 Ayurvedic herbs in the form of the rare and powerful healing energy in the form of the Nityananda Linga, 21 feet Shivalinga, which was energized, the Prana Pratishtha done 12 years back, and which is ripening this upcoming Guru Purnima, just about a couple of months later. So we got a letter.
The Department of Customs in India sent a letter in May 2021 about the pickup of the seeds package. Please understand, on March 2nd, 2021, the package was sent and it is there in the customs, and we receive a letter in May 2021 for the pickup of this unknown seeds package. Unaware of the sinister conspiracy, the Adinam authorities wrote to the Custom Department that they were not aware of it and had not ordered any such package. You can clearly see here the Department of Customs had sent a letter in May 2021 about the pickup of the seeds package.
That the date on which the package has been received, the date as you see at the bottom, 2nd of March 2021. And it says the location in Bengaluru and the item received is a foreign, and that was followed by the letter.
Of who's sending, from where the post is coming, it is only telling that it's coming from a foreign. This is from the Department of Customs, intimating about this seed.
And there we had the Adinam authorities. Little did they know that it is a bio-war. They innocently reply thinking that the customs authorities are actually intimating them of some mistaken package. So as one can see here, the authorities wrote back a reply to the Customs Department that they were not aware of and they had not ordered any such package. In fact, the letter by the Customs Department, which clearly said that it had some seeds and the parcel was containing, these seeds. The Customs Department asked for the Adinam, the Adi Kailasa Sarvanyapita Adinam authorities to provide the proof that they had ordered the same and documented and then pick up this parcel. And then the authorities were given the reply by the Adinam administration that we've not placed any order for any seeds, not only the one mentioned in the letter, but otherwise also. And we're not in any position to provide any details of the same, obviously, because there was nothing such ordered. In fact, actually, the Adinam authorities had a whiff of maybe this may be something to harass the Adinam, given the fact that the Adi Kailasa Sarvanyapitam was being open to the people at large. So they expressed their fear, their concern that this might be a ploy to put us into some trouble or the other.
You can see here the track consignment order by the India Post. Now, you can please understand these militant terrorist groups have been sending this unsolicited plant seed packets to arrive from unknown locations as bio-war weapons. And we all know the impacts of bioterrorism, which is depopulation and genocide, hunger and food insecurity, devastating economic loss, and widespread illness. All of these impacts, it is something that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is combating. He has provided solutions for the whole of the humanity to not to go through any genocide. That is why he has established this whole Adi Kailasa Sarvangapeetham as a mechanism to protect people from COVID. To ensure that the Annadan is happening continuously in all Kailasas, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism micromanaged and ensured the groceries are all stored, and it is enabled for the next 3 years. And to combat the widespread illness, several spiritual solutions has been provided by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to ensure that the people are living healthy. So these attempts by these militant groups to impact the depopulation, food and hunger insecurity, widespread illness, all of this anti-human practices that these militant groups wanted to enforce by sending these bioweapons in Adi Kailasa Sarvangapeetham.